Good evening, folks, and welcome back to the Fan Batch. I'm Andy, and again, I'm joined by my band of brothers. We got Mr. Wes R. Scott.
Hello,
and
sir.
Hank McLaughlin.
What's going on, Cal? What is going on, fellows?
I feel like for the few people that are watching already,
We just did this, didn't we?
thank you for choosing us. I know the Super Bowl
Over
is
the
on.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl is.
Where
maybe
were
you're
you
watching
3
both
hours
at the
ago?
same time,
Maybe. Well, doesn't it start at like 7:30?
like 7:30 Eastern or something.
7:30 your time. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't mean we're not going to talk. We're not going to talk about the Super Bowl, but later this week we're probably going to talk about a lot of the
Commercials,
the prime advertising that comes out of it.
I only get into the Super Bowl when the Blue Jays are playing.
Yeah, them guys.
Nice.
It is the Fan Batch. We're back. If you didn't catch us earlier today, we covered episode 7, The Clone Conspiracy, but it was a double episode drop this week, so we are back to cover episode 8, Truth and Consequences. Andy, this one's yours.
Yeah, I got this one. This one kicked me right in the feels.
Oh man,
I went and rewatched it this afternoon while I was kind of half napping, and I kind of like, yeah, I get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys have any opening thoughts regarding this particular half of the arc?
I can't wait to talk about all the stuff I nearly talked about in the last episode. We opened with, "Can you separate the two?" And we were all like, "Oh yeah, easy." And then I was like, "Oh, but then okay, wait. Okay, wait." But here we are. I'm excited.
We are.
I think it's more about the repercussions, really. I mean, there are things I want to talk about, but again, it comes sort of to the end of the episode. Especially, this week, I actually almost went back to our season 1 Fan Batch episodes to look for. There's a moment where I said, "Hey, if anybody has a reason to do this thing, this particular character does."
True.
And now here we are. Full circle moment.
Last episode felt a lot like a Clone Wars episode because we were like sans batch the whole time.
Yeah, no bad batch.
So we're kind of back in the swing of things and getting the other perspective this time.
I liked the scope of this episode. I like that we got to see there's a cool moment that we've never seen before. I thought that's very cool without spoiling it.
Fair enough.
Hey, is that time again?
Yeah,
what?
It's probably that time. Don't forget to mic it up this time.
I guess I should.
Oh,
yeah, wait. What are you talking about? He's live in studio right now.
That's right.
Oh.
Bad Star Wars jokes. Where is that guy?
Always hiding.
I think he's behind you.
So, question. What was General Grievous's favorite band?
What was General Grievous's favorite band? It wasn't the Modal Nodes, was it?
No, it was Weezer.
that was a legit laugh.
Okay, wait. I don't have a sound for good Star Wars jokes.
My name is Obi.
Well, I got one more for you. Since we're a double shot, I got a second.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Let's have it.
Does R2-D2 have any brothers?
Does R2-D2 have any brothers? Well, I mean, empirically, yes, perhaps. I don't know.
But technically, no. He only has transistors.
Oh, yeah. Topical.
Oh, wow.
Topical. I like it.
Wow. Edgy.
Maybe a lightsaber.
All in the name of comedy, folks. All in the name of comedy.
It's great.
But this has been another installment of,
Bad Star Wars jokes. I wonder if we can get that guy to do some other stuff for us.
Probably. So, without further ado, shall we dive in?
I'm ready. Let's hit it.
Oh, and, as always, thank you for joining us. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're watching, join the conversation. That's what we're here for. Oh, we got our first comment coming in from Eric.
I only watch the Super Bowl for the commercials.
Fair enough.
I don't even watch that. I just scour YouTube for the commercials afterwards.
Doritos.
There's one campaign I'm actually following, and it's the Downy one, where a celebrity is hiding in his sweater, sniffing it for 12 weeks to make sure it actually works.
Oh my Lord.
I'm 90% sure it's Danny McBride.
Well, that seems like right up his alley.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get on to our show here.
Yeah.
So this episode originally aired on Wednesday, February 8th, 2023 alongside episode 7. It's titled Truth and Consequences, and it has a listed runtime of 31 minutes with credits and titles, but it comes into 27 minutes and 34 seconds without.
I don't mind the shorter runtimes, to be honest.
True. This one was written by Damani Johnson. This is his second go around with the batch.
Oh, sure.
He also wrote the season 1 episode War Mantle.
Nice.
Yeah,
we
like that
one
episode.
saw him teamed up with this next fellow. Returning to the director's chair is Stuart Lee.
Again, and again.
And is outing up to a total of 10 episodes of the Bad Batch.
Yep.
23 episodes of Clone Wars.
Yeah, man.
19 episodes of Resistance. And 15 episodes of Rebels.
I feel like, we had a couple of Resistance references in episode 7.
We did.
I'm almost tempted to try and watch it again to see if I get more out of it.
It's true. But as they say in Star Trek fandom, resistance is futile.
So the synopsis for this one reads, brought into a risky mission, the batch must use stealth to survive.
Nice.
So
that's a word that goes well with Wrecker.
Not really. But anyway, we open with a wide shot on Ord Mantell, and quickly we find the batch relaxing in the hangar aboard the Havoc Marauder. Hunter, he sits alone on the steps, and Wrecker snoozes in a chair. Tech, he's studying his data pad, and Echo turns to see Omega cross-legged in her room meditating. Gonky is back finally.
Oh,
nice.
Isn't that something that we've actually been talking about? Where's Gonky been this whole
he's back
season?
finally, and he waddles back to go see Omega, but
8 episodes late there, guy. Where have you been?
He's been hiding with Sid. He quickly turns and moves back towards the front of the ship. However, Echo has taken note of what she's doing and comes back to ask her how the meditation is going. And she tells him Gunji taught her how, but it doesn't seem to be working for her the way it does for him. And Echo states, well, it's probably because Gunji is a Jedi. And Omega says, well, she still likes it, though, and gleefully asks, Echo, you want to try? And he solemnly replies, no, doesn't like solitude. And he had enough of that on Skeko Minor.
Mm-hmm.
And then
this really paints that, there's no hiding the low rolling murmur amongst the fan community that this is sort of pointing towards, at the very least, force sensitivity for Omega, and to see her actively
pursuing something.
Yeah, that's an interesting development.
It is.
Dig it.
We've also had also within the scene, there are threads foreshadowing the ending, and it's been building now for a while.
The ending of
this particular episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I count this interaction as another one of those. But
towards the finale of the
mid-season finale.
Yeah, really.
But Echo, he continues on in a more hopeful tone that if it wasn't for this squad, he'd still be a prisoner there, or worse. And she asks him, is that why you joined the Bad Batch? But he responds, it's where he fit in, where he was needed.
It goes back to that whole, he's been saying right from season 1, we need to be doing more.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
And just then an alarm starts beeping and Tech relays that they have a holo transmission coming in. And it's Rex. The holo pops up and Rex greets them with a, hey boys, any chance I could use your squad's expertise for a mission? And without hesitation, Wrecker chimes in, finally! I'm tired of waiting around for Sid, whom we haven't seen on screen since the end of Faster.
This is still lingering for me that we just in Tribe, again, that, we kind of made a joke about it, but let's be realistic here. They just went and slaughtered a bunch of Sid's people to help a Wookiee. And I still think that the dangling threads from that needs some on-screen, on-camera resolution.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm surprised that there's, not more mention of, oh, she's mad at us right now, or something to that effect, to even acknowledge that even happened. Could be saving it for something bigger. I hope so. I hope that they don't just let that one go.
No, I think it'll play into the overarching narrative.
Not sure how successive the episodes are. Like if there's little, week or 2-week gaps or month gaps between them, but they could literally be on the ship on the way back to Ord Mantell here when they get the message from Rex to go elsewhere. So.
True. But they are parked. We do see Hunter outside on, sitting in the bay, right?
That's right.
But
Andy, I was just going to say, it's a small technical thing. You want to just shut down the camera on that one. Don't remove it. Just 3 dots. And then stop camera.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Oh, don't know if we should have done that one.
Oh, it took you right out.
Where'd you go?
Oh, no. I thought I was doing something, and I did not do the right thing. I was trying to save some bandwidth, but
that's okay.
That doesn't work. We gotta.
I know what to do.
I do too. Remove it and then share it again. Dope.
There he is.
It's okay. It's the comments that I meant to, but it's fine. It's good. We're good. Never mind. Don't do anything.
All right.
Ignore me.
We'll just continue.
Just keep the show moving forward because apparently I don't. It's like I don't know what. It's like my first day or something.
Bump in the road. But yeah. Aside from whatever she's doing behind the scenes,
right?
Like aside from just being ticked off at them, is she making preparations for
whatever
might be coming,
whatever betrayal we think is coming?
Yeah.
Even Wrecker's throwaway line, tired of waiting for her.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the allusion with an A that she is. You guys double cross me. I'm just gonna.
I'll go set something.
There's always the fact that as the fist tightens, the ability to do crime or scams or whatever it is, jobs, lessens. It gets more difficult at any rate.
Yeah.
But Echo, he's quick to ask what Rex needs, and he tells them that they'll explain everything once they get to Coruscant. And Hunter, he's taken aback at the request, telling him, "That's a big ask, Captain." And Omega, she asks, "Why? What's on Coruscant?" And Tech tells her it's the galactic capital and thus the heart of the Empire. But Echo pauses a moment, recalling, as they believe, that the Empire believes them dead, and they won't be looking for them. Hunter remarks he'd like to keep it that way, and Rex goes on to tell them it's a covert mission, simple data extraction,
right.
But it's crucial. He continues telling them that he'll send a safe route and coordinates for a safe landing space as well. And before anybody else could say anything, Echo tells him we're on our way. And then he exchanges an uneasy glance with Hunter, and we cut to space.
Yeah, Hunter's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
I'm running
again. It's still the same sort of as the last 2 episodes ago, where Hunter's wrestling with like his role in the whole thing. He wants to be in charge, but other people are making decisions, and he's caught up with them, just going along, sometimes against his better nature. You can see him struggling with it.
Yeah. We cut to space as the Havoc Marauder is coming out of hyperspace on approach to Coruscant. And the space traffic is heavy, and again, we get to see those Star Destroyers positioned around the planet.
Yeah, so not only are they, in atmosphere, but
also
I would expect to see them in space, though.
Yeah, that'd be like a more easy position for incoming threats, but
I have to say that there was a missed opportunity here for a legacy line, and I actually thought they were going to use it.
That's no moon?
No. Fly casual. Fly casual. And that didn't happen, so not that I'm disappointed, but I'm like, oh.
Tech relays that they've neared their destination, and Hunter tells them all to stay ready. And as they pass through the cityscape with towers stretching skyward, Omega stares out the window with wonder at yet another first for her. Because she's never been...
It's her first time to Coruscant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So, now that I'm thinking, like, I had a huge problem with the fact that the Havoc Marauder...
That they just flew right in?
Highly modified clone attack shuttle can just swoop in, no problem. And you can't even get near Mos Eisley without them going, "Hey, this is the tower. What are you doing?" But in light of, and like, because we've been focusing on it, all the Venator class star, like, it's probably more common than not.
I would think so.
I mean,
in light of all the Venators there, like in light of the military presence, I can now see it being overlooked.
The amount of military traffic,
especially the clone vehicles. If those were Imperial Star Destroyers, I'd still be like, nah.
Right. Well, we saw it in episode 7 in Clone Conspiracy, we did see several gunships parked outside Imperial headquarters. So I mean, it's not like it's uncommon.
And did Tech not modify the?
This is where I'm at. Like, is
transponder
this
on the
one of
Marauder?
those? So is this an off-camera thing? Like, lots of things happen off-camera. Typically, that's when people sleep, go to the bathroom, being the most famous one, right? All that kind of stuff.
Did Rex give them clearance codes?
Well, he
Another
said that
chance
he
for a
was
legacy line there.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
He did say that he was going to send them a safe flight path and a safe landing spot. So I just presume that whatever he sent to them was good enough to make it look like an everyday run of the And again, I mean, my boy Tech, who's like, when Hunter says in season 1, when they're trying to get Tup's family out of there, and he's like, Tech, do you think you could make a chain code? Well, I've only just learned of them 2 minutes ago, but yes, I can. You can't tell me that Tech wouldn't be able to, redesignate or hide the ship's ID.
Yeah.
Especially, and I think I'd said in our group chat, I said, if Luthen's droid can do it on the fly in under 2 minutes, you got to think that Tech could pull it off.
Yeah.
Or the other explanation, as we learned in The Mandalorian, is this ship old enough to be
pre-registration?
Yeah, so it has no tags.
Yeah, it can't.
That's interesting. Good point.
It is all like by the time you get to that Mandalorian season 2, or I guess Boba Fett.
That's right.
How many years have passed, and
that's right.
New rules and legislation.
That's right. The Razor Crest was not,
and the N1
probably not either.
Pre-Empire, right?
Very good point.
Yeah. But our batch here, they follow a series of cables towards a ventilation shaft and descend inside.
Never been there before.
No,
didn't get to go in there in a video game either.
No,
no. That's how. So the people who don't know, this whole opening thing. It was it was imagery right out of the. It was supposed to be a Lucas Arts game before they sold the farm. Star Wars 1313, a video game that got squashed. Now that's where a lot of this stuff, a lot of the underworld stuff, the imagery comes from, is that 1313. Hence, the Martez sisters' garage is on level 1313,
which makes this next piece of info come up pretty.
I guess so. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because as they descend down, they come to land on a dark, unoccupied platform, and the Orabesh reads Mech Bay 13.
Oh, Bay 13 on level 1313. That's pretty funny.
As they depart the ship, Hunter takes the lead, but they're greeted at the hangar door by Rex and Senator Chuchi. Rex tells the senator these are the special clones that he told her about. And Omega, she delivers a cheerful hello.
Because that's her in every situation, no matter where they go.
Yeah.
It's right in there with, it might be fun.
Looks like we're going to get a new Rex figure too, maybe.
Maybe.
More than just a repaint this time.
Yeah, maybe.
Senator Chuchi gives Omega a smile and thanks them all for coming. And Hunter, he gets right down to business, asking, why are we here? But Rex ushers them inside, saying, there's something I want you to see. Inside, a body bag lies on the table, and a slot opens, revealing the face of a dead clone. It's the assassin from the last episode. And Rex tells them his identifying number has been wiped. And Tech replies he didn't know that was possible.
Well, doesn't that just tie back into what we were talking about before?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I almost blurted out last episode. If Tech doesn't understand that, it's got to be more than a tattoo.
I agree.
Right? And now
something coded right in their DNA.
Also now, like seeing him
very much so, yeah.
He's been dressed for death. He's in a casket.
That's a pretty elaborate casket. That looks like they're trying to preserve
some time. Yeah.
To me, it looks like they're trying to preserve the body. That's not a
So
that's not a casket for burial.
At this point, I believe that Rex has probably scanned the body. Like that.
By now he has. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then that begs the question: Is it a chip similar to a chain code that would tell you?
Yeah, I wonder if it does go back to, is that just part of the encoding on the inhibitor chip? Is that data, that information?
Yeah, would that be how they slid it past? Oh, it's nothing. It's just an ID chip.
Or it's a Wakandan tattoo on the inside of their lip. I don't know. I don't know.
But Hunter, he asks who the target was, and Rex tells him it was a contact of his, a clone named Slip. And Omega looks on with an uneasy expression, and Rex goes on to tell them that he himself had come to Coruscant to get him out, but the assassin got to Slip first, and he nearly got the senator too. Echo asks why a clone would be targeting another clone, or a senator for that matter, and Senator Chuchi sharply replies to silence us. She then goes on to tell them that Admiral Rampart has the Senate convinced that Camino was lost to a cataclysmic storm. Slip had witnessed the truth, and Chuchi wanted him to testify to the Senate about Rampart's crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But Echo, he promptly responds that they were there too, and he'll be her witness.
I find it interesting that he's right. Like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits him, his character profile of who he is.
Yeah. He's been wanting to help on a grander scale.
Yeah. God, like, given the guy's history, like, are you sure you want, like, that's like, frying pan, fire.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. But Hunter tells them the Senate won't listen to any of them because they're deserters, and Rex agrees. Rex says there's another way to provide the Senate with proof of the Empire's crimes, the command log on Rampart's Venator. And side note here, Rex has a better grasp on how deep this all goes.
Yep.
Because we hear Chuchi only aiming at Rampart, but Rex knows it goes much higher than that, calling it the Empire's crimes.
Yeah.
Oh, heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on some level, like, I guess not even on some level, he knows empirically that the only reason the clones acted that way is because of the chip.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they all have a similar morality to him. They all, you know what I mean? Like, he went above and beyond his programming, essentially. But
big time.
Yeah.
I
think he empirically understands that this is the Empire that,
put the wheels in motion.
The structure of the Dr. Mad, the structure of the Empire is the only thing that really, nothing changed. Yeah.
Dr. Mad Studio, welcome back. Welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Sunday. I suppose it's close to midnight your time.
Yeah. Are you caught up on the show? Because we're all the way into episode 8 now.
We're into episode 8.
Yep.
Welcome. And either way.
But where am I at here?
I believe you are
about to jump here. All right.
11.
Nice.
Rex goes on to tell them that Slip made a copy of the command log on the ship's backup databank. And when Wrecker asks where the ship is now, he tells them it's getting retrofitted right here on Coruscant at the Imperial shipyard. And he notes there's lots of security, but I know a way in.
I find it interesting, and we're going to get there. Shipyard on Coruscant, not in orbit.
Yeah.
On the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, Jesus. I know that the acclimators, the first triangular shaped ships we see in Attack of the Clones, they were built to land. That's how they deployed all of the ground vehicles and everything else. I didn't think that a Star Destroyer was actually built to land. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah. I got a note on that later on.
Oh,
too.
Sure. Cool.
Senator Chuchi tells them that Rampart's recruitment bill goes before the Senate for voting the following day, so time is not on their side. And Senator Chuchi then suggests she goes back and tries to garner support where she can, but Rex notes that she might still be in danger. And Chuchi says, that must mean I'm on the right track. And just then Omega offers to go with her to keep an eye out, but Chuchi says you can't enter the Senate district unless you have the right credentials. But Tech says it won't be a problem. And with a plan set, Rex tells them, let's get to work. Later on, we find Omega accompanying Senator Chuchi and her 2 Pantoran guards in the halls of the Senate building, and assorted R2 units zip through the hallways as well. Omega asks what exactly a senator does, and she tells Omega that senators serve the galaxy, that they act as a voice for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And puzzled, Omega asks what that means, but Chuchi tells her, here's where I'm taking you next. You'll see. And before they continue, Admiral Rampart appears and calls to the senator. And Senator Chuchi says, you seem surprised to see me. But he slyly replies, not at all. I was just making a few preparations for the following day's vote. And Omega has a 0 poker face here, showing her distaste for Rampart.
I mean, that's pretty obvious by the look on her face.
Yeah.
You can just see her like, dick.
But at the same time, like, he's paying her no attention. Like, she's not even on his radar.
Do we want to talk about that?
I have to.
Yeah,
this is the second time where the episode makes me go. And there's two things here, and both of them are sort of linked. So first thing was the Havoc Marauder getting past security like it was butter, but I can get over that one. Now, there's clone assassins with their numbers scrubbed, ostensibly trying to assassinate this senator.
Yeah.
So let's send the child with her. Second off, Rampart is after the Bad Batch. Okay, at this point, sure, he believes they're dead, but I guarantee you that we've seen him just sit and stare at data pads of cargo manifesto.
Yeah, cargo manifesto.
This guy is an obsessive, compulsive, detail-oriented megalomaniac. I know that he knows who Omega is. Maybe it's that he doesn't glance at her.
I didn't have enough time to go back and scrub all of the season 1 episodes.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, and
she
maybe
looks like she knows who he is.
Oh, she knows.
Wow. She knows of him, and she knows what he has done.
Being responsible for the destruction of her home.
But going back to season 1, all the time that she was on Camino with
Lamasu?
Not Nalase?
Nalase or Lamasu, one of the two.
She was she wasn't made for the Empire.
No, she was.
They made her.
Kaminoan.
Yeah, they made her. So did they and we talked about that mother-daughter relationship. You know, like there was that paternal parental thing going on. Was she kept secret? I think she was a secret.
I believe so.
So, I mean, the whole Rampart not recognizing her, I mean, I'd have to go back, and maybe you guys that are watching and listening can refresh my memory on that. I don't think Rampart actually knows who she is. At least not from the, oh, I know you, I saw you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's referenced, like, where's that unaltered clone somewhere? I definitely got to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, me too. Because I didn't have time to do it today, and it never occurred to me. Maybe I should go back and rewatch these, but
not such a problem with it that I'm like, oh, shut her down. But it's just interesting to me that
I hope not.
These are the choices. Send the child with the victim, the target.
That's right.
And then hopefully she doesn't meet the bad guy face to face.
But at the same time, they're choosing the lesser of two evils here, right? Because she's less likely to be assassinated in the Senate,
in public,
as opposed to in an Imperial shipyard where it's just going to be swarming with clones.
That is true as well.
That's a good point.
Frying pan and fire, you know.
That's a good point.
Well, we'll just go to the oven on preheat.
Yeah, because the assassin is technically dead.
That's true. Well,
but
how many more are in the wing?
That would be my,
knowing that there's Fennec Shans out there, and
we have a track record of never stop coming kind of action.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if there's one bounty hunter, there's usually more.
Yeah. But Chuchi, she tells Rampart she's looking forward to the vote, but before the conversation can go any further, the Grand Vizier appears behind Chuchi, and Rampart excuses himself. And Chuchi and company, they continue on, and brazenly, the Grand Vizier asks Rampart if he's sure that the senator won't be a problem. And Rampart tells him he's taking care of it. There's nothing else she can do. And the Vizier jams his staff on the ground and tells Rampart, you better hope so. No more delays on this vote. He then departs, leaving Rampart alone in the hall.
Again, talking in the most secure place ever.
Right? Yeah.
It's the
sort of the first time we ever see Rampart almost break character too, where he's got a worried look now.
He's starting to get frazzled.
He's realizing he's mortal.
He's got a good reason to be.
Yeah. We catch up with Senator Chuchi, and one of her guards opens the door to her Senate pod, and she tells Omega that this is where the Senate gather to discuss many pressing issues in legislation, where the future of the galaxy is decided, for better or worse.
Where Yoda is nearly killed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That must be where they watch the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Omega lets out an awe-inspired wow. Because, really, that would be intimidating.
That's very
intimidating chamber to walk
in. And that's super in character for her as well, given how inquisitive she is.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Senator Chuchi then tells her that each pod belongs to the numerous representatives and delegates. And Omega asks which one belongs to the clones. But Chuchi tells her that the clones don't have representation in the Senate. They never have.
Mm.
Yeah.
And when Omega questions why not, citing, we're part of this galaxy too, Chuchi tells her that there are those who view the clones as only military assets, but she's working to change that and ensure they all have the same rights as any galactic citizen.
She's getting a broad perspective education. She's learning like Hondo Anaka crap from Fee. She's learning Jedi stuff from Gunji. She's learning senatorial stuff from Chuchi. It's almost like her character is being educated by all the other. If this were a role-playing game, you'd just pick a class and she trains with that class, and then she
shadows them for a while
and trains with that class, and she's covering like all the bases here.
Yeah,
she's going to be a very well-rounded adult if she gets that far, and I think she
will. You know my thoughts on that. I still think that there's room for a Omega Gunji spin-off here somewhere.
Yep. But
looking at you, Lucasfilm.
Just then, R2C4 rolls into the open doorway, beeping and blooping, and the descriptive audio guy calls the droid R2D2.
We got to send them an email, like, if descriptive audio guy doesn't say something weird at least once every episode,
somebody hold this guy's hand.
Like, are you like dry? Like, are you making this up as you're watching it? Writing?
We can do it if you need us to.
Be happy to send you my script.
Omega, she asks what that was all about, and Chuchi tells her it was a message. She then asks if Omega can keep a secret, and Omega nods yes. We crossfade to the outside of the Senate building where we find Chuchi and company walking with Bail Organa behind R2C4. And again, the descriptive audio guy just calls the droid R2.
Well, that kind of works.
It did. So it's not as off there as it is, but we catch them mid-conversation as Chuchi has told Bail about the assassin, and he postures that Rampart is resourceful in covering up his misdeeds. And Chuchi responds that she intends to be equally resourceful. She relays to Organa that some associates of her are helping procure the evidence of the attack on Camino that can be presented to the Senate. And Bail asks if she's confident that they can accomplish this. From behind them, Omega says, very. And I love the look he gives her. Like, what? You're here?
Supreme confidence in her brothers, for sure.
Yep.
Why is this kid telling me this? Well, Senator.
Yeah. Chuchi continues saying that she won't leave it to chance. Other senators may have intel useful to her efforts. And Bail tells her if she is intent on seeing it through, there is someone she should speak with, but she may not be willing to cooperate. Hallie Bertoni.
Hallie Bertoni.
Yeah. Omega questions who she is, and Chuchi tells her she is the former senator to Camino, and she was also part of the Defense Finance Committee before being removed from office.
That's a big detail, too. I don't know if you dove in on her a bit.
I did.
You did. Okay.
Before he departs, though, Bail tells Chuchi to follow the money. And it always leaves a trail.
We've never heard that before.
I know. How many movies have done that one?
Yeah. Follow the money.
Yeah. Later that evening, Senator Chuchi and Omega wait in a tall office tower. The doors open and a Kaminoan enters, flanked by the two Pantoran guards. Senator Chuchi stands to greet her. It's former Senator Hallie Bertoni. And she asks if the armed guards are really necessary. And Chuchi gives them a nod to withdraw. The doors close, and Chuchi tells her that there's a matter she must discuss with her. And Bertoni tilts her head to the side and stares at Chuchi and Omega. Does she recognize Omega?
I watched it again this afternoon. I didn't get that impression that she did.
No.
Not to say that she couldn't have, but given the history that we're about to discuss, maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe not. Just because she would have been gone.
Big city,
right?
But almost dismissively, Hallie tells her to speak as she takes a seat. And Chuchi asks if she can tell her anything about the missing Senate appropriation funds that were earmarked for operations on Camino. She continues that funding for the cloning facilities has been siphoned off for the last year, and Bertoni had to have known. And she replies, "Of course I did." And pressing her, Chuchi asks where the money went to and who diverted the funds. But Bertoni calls Chuchi a fool. And she then asks if she knows what happens when people go digging around where they shouldn't. And Chuchi tries to appeal to her on, how her people deserve. But before she can finish, Hallie cuts her off, telling her her people are gone, and the few remaining Kaminoans scattered throughout the galaxy are of no importance to her, and therefore not her concern.
Interesting how cold. That's consistent for the species, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are like being cloners. The Kaminoans themselves have genetically altered themselves.
Yeah, they've mucked with themselves for generations.
Yeah. There's no mention of like the amount of funding that we're talking about.
You would have to think it'd be substantial, though.
And so, like the TK project, the TK soldier project, I don't believe it was secret. It was a trial, right?
Yeah.
Is the money that we're talking about, is that the money that was used to fund Mount Tentis?
Quite possible.
Yeah, or other secret projects.
Other secret
Exegol,
projects,
if we want to talk about.
Yeah,
we want to talk about that.
I want to go that far.
Yeah. But certainly, you'd think, why does the Empire have to hide itself from itself? But they're still trying to keep up the illusion
of public accountability.
And so if the bleeding hearts, if you will, in the Senate got a hold of that information, this is exactly what would happen. So it stands to reason that they were just trying to skim off the top and hide it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like real world parallels there, right?
Of course there is. Yeah.
How much funding got diverted to Area 51?
Government slush funds and black ops.
Oh, it doesn't really exist.
But still,
everyone knows it exists.
Screws in the government are like $10.95 a piece, and I can buy them for a lot less.
$10 pencils.
You think it costs $20 for a hammer?
It's got to be a really good one.
Well, maybe. Omega plainly asks, how can you not care about what happened on Kamino? And Hallie asks, why do you care, child? But Omega tells her bluntly, because I'm a clone too. Kamino was my home.
I think that kind of puts the nail in it, that they didn't know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the kind of thing she should be chucking around?
In the heat of the moment, I mean, there's that for all the adult things that she's doing, that I'm still a kid, and that's the kid part, I think, coming through, like the emotional part of it, right?
Yeah. But a shocked look comes over Bertoni's face, and Omega continues, I was there. I saw the Empire destroy everything, and I'm angry. What they did, it's not right. And Bertoni composes herself a moment and then utters, I suspected an attack was imminent. Lama Su was arrogant, too confident his clones were a necessity to the Empire, but none of us are. And again, Senator Chuchi asks, did Rampart divert the funds? And this time Bertoni answers, you already know the answer, but yes.
Yeah, almost forgot, season 1, episode 1, or the first couple episodes, how arrogant Lama Su was, thinking that they were endeared to the Republic.
Yeah, and we never, because we had speculated that maybe they had logged in some sort of failsafe for their benefit.
Right.
But
apparently not.
No. If it hasn't happened now, it's not going to.
Should have thought about it sooner, guys.
Yep.
It's tragic.
A contingency plan needs a contingency plan.
Every plan needs a backup. Chuchi implores Hallie that she must testify before the Senate to ensure Rampart doesn't continue to get away with his crimes. But Hallie tells her Rampart is just a cog in the machine, and her word won't do any good. She tells Chuchi that she needs concrete proof, but Chuchi retorts she needs both, and she's running out of time.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't seen former Senator Hallie Bertoni since on screen
while.
Since the 11th episode of season 3 of the Clone Wars,
which is why I think we all forgot about her.
Yeah, I went off on it too. I was like, "What do you mean,
God, Kaminoan senator? What the hell?
That's crazy. What are they thinking?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah, wait a minute."
Oh yeah.
Even though that episode technically takes place chronologically before the Senate murders episode of season 2. It
does. But her thing being on the Defense Spending Committee, that actually ties into her arc in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, she was very much pro-war and allied herself with militarist and corporate interest groups.
Oh, yeah.
She also opposed a peaceful resolution to the conflict between the Republic and the Confederacy of Independent
Absolutely,
Systems.
because that would have put them out of business.
Yeah, and she advocated for expansion of the Republic military, which would mean increased production of the clone soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if you need more on her involvement in the Senate murders, go back and check out season 2 of the Clone Wars.
We talked privately about Kamino being removed from the Jedi Archive, essentially removing it from galactic mapping everywhere.
Yeah,
right.
And that tracks, because they talk about when they took possession of the clone army, that essentially put them back on the map, and the Kaminoans were able to leverage their military support into a Senate seat.
Yeah.
Which, that's kind of interesting. So yeah, and that's where it ties into with what you said, Hank, that they couldn't have sat on the Senate for more than 3 years.
3 years max.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So interesting stuff. We all forgot about her.
Totally.
Oops.
Back to our show here, though, we cut to the Imperial shipyard, and we're treated to a fantastic visual of Rampart's Venator.
Well, there it
docked
is.
for retrofitting.
Okay, I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
Another one where I actually thought, are we far enough where the first Victory class Star Destroyers could have been made out of, they could have been refitted Venators?
Maybe.
And I kind of thought, there's a missed opportunity as well. I thought, are we going to see that, the first Victory? Because the Victory predates the Imperial class Star Destroyer.
It does.
Not the case here. They just parked it.
Yeah.
It does make sense that it could be retrofitted. It was like maximize your resources.
Yeah.
Well, because Rex does say it's there for retrofitting.
Well, this is it. Like,
retrofitting to what?
How much that? Well, see, I don't. Retrofitting almost seems like not to borrow a word from Star Trek. Refitting seems like a better, the more proper term. I mean, and ships go through refitting all the time. And so do aircraft when there's new avionics and things that your airframe is still
change the title of the class, though.
Right. So yes, no, yes. I don't know. Visually, I think it would have been cool, but yeah, it's just me wanting more.
It's just hella cool to see one parked.
Wouldn't it though? Yeah, and I mean that's where I kind of go. Oh wow, you can apparently land a Star Destroyer.
But inside of a long vertical tunnel, we find the Bad Batch scaling a ladder past a spinning turbine, arcing with electricity. And there's minimal space to pass by, and Wrecker actually makes contact with it, receiving a shock for his troubles. He shakes it off and continues to climb. And at the top of the ladder, the Batch enter, guns drawn, into a room, but it's empty. So Tech, he sets to work on the console in the middle of the room, and Hunter tells Wrecker to get to work on the hatch. And he climbs another ladder and begins to cut through that hatch with a laser cutter. Rex recalls that he hasn't been in his maintenance tunnel since the war, and Echo remarks that Coruscant is the last place he thought Rex would be. And Rex tells him, it's worth the risk, that more and more of their brothers are waking up to what's been done to them, and he can't turn his back on them.
Yeah.
And Echo, he asks how many he's reached, and Rex says not enough. Troopers who know too much are a liability to the Empire. And Rex turns to Echo and faces him, continuing that he's been working with some contacts that he trusts, but they're spread pretty thin and help's hard to come by these days.
There's another one. I mean, now that we know, but it's that leading up to it, and you're like, oh yeah, sure. He's just talking about people in general.
Yeah, but he's looking right at him, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to come by. Hey, hint, hint. There's a brief silence between the two clones before Wrecker calls out that he's finished. And Wrecker pops the hatch open, but he's met with an assortment of ray shields.
Ray shields.
Yeah. Tech says he'll take care of it. And Hunter asks Rex how they're going to get aboard Rampart's Venator. But Rex tells him he's borrowing a page out of their playbook. They'll improvise. Tech powers down the shields, and we cut to above where the top hatch opens up and Wrecker pops his head up. And I love that visual.
What, just him looking
just
through?
Him popping up like,
hello?
It's almost Gopher like.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah. With the way clear, they emerge from the maintenance tunnels and make their way towards the ship with batches of large pipe providing cover. They continue to make their way forward, taking cover to avoid various troops and droids going about their work. And they pause again, avoiding detection from another batch of clones with a massive.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Now we've seen them use massives before, but it still strikes me that, like, are you guys going to Tatooine to get these things? Like, what are you doing?
Maybe go pick up some from the Massive Pound.
Maybe
he needed a new home.
Rescues.
They can train him for service.
Rescue massives. Yeah.
But Hunter remarks that there's not enough cover to keep going this direction, and they won't be able to cross the shipyard undetected. Just then, he sees two droids start up two large skiffs, and one departs, and Hunter sees their opportunity. He tells them to move, and they leap aboard the undercarriage of the second skiff just as it lifts off. Hunter then cuts into the bottom of the craft and pulls down a computer cable, and Wrecker repeatedly moans to himself, "Don't look down, don't look down, don't look down." And Rex, he cites, he's still not getting better with heights.
Conveniently reminding us.
Yeah. But Echo says this is Wrecker better with heights.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's
A long
true.
way.
With access to the computer cable, Tech is quickly able to bypass the controls. And on board, the droid pilot, he cocks his head to the left as the skiff begins to steer itself. And they hang on tight as Tech steers the skid almost vertical to climb to the top of the ship before they level off again. And once skimming across the top, Tech tells them to jump, and they leap off on top of Rampart's ship as the skiff continues on unaware. They quickly make their way to an entrance hatch, and Tech pries off the control panel and attaches his data pad. Within seconds, the hatch opens and they make their way inside. And I noted it here. He takes a minute to put the cover back on.
Onto
Like the little panel that he pried off to get access.
Oh, really?
He puts it back to hide that.
Oh, the
in
evidence.
there. Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense.
Once inside, they pause as two clone troopers pass by on patrol in the hallway, and they stun two more troopers in the astrogation room and make their way to the bridge. Once inside, Tech links into the console while the others scan the shipyard through the windows. Tech delivers another techism when he says, "Well, that is unfortunate." And Rex asks him to narrow it down, and Tech tells him the energy conduits are offline, and the only way to retrieve the data is to reroute power, which will most likely signal a security breach.
It's basically like saying we can't put the windows up unless we start the car.
Yeah. Hunter asks how
Oh,
much
crap.
time they will have, but Tech says not much. Echo confidently says, "Well, then let's make it quick." And Tech opens up a panel and pulls out one of the ship's backup databanks. Echo and Tech then activate the energy conduits together, and the lights come on in the bridge room as the ship powers up. And troopers in the shipyard take notice, relaying that there's an unauthorized bridge activation on vessel VZ-114.
Interesting.
Yeah. An alarm sounds, but it's not our normal klaxon, which I find kind of weird.
Was it not?
It was not. It was a slightly different one.
Oh, it sounded like the usual onboard ship kind of.
They quickly call out that there's a possible security breach and dispatch squads of troops to trench Alpha 7. They also call for all onboard patrols to head to the bridge, and we cut to inside where a squad of troops race through the hallways as droids move cargo about.
There's your QRF or your quick reaction force.
Yep. They quickly enter the astrogation room, and Rex tells Hunter they're going to have some company, and Hunter calls for Wrecker to seal the doors, and like we've seen countless times before, he just blasts the control panel, disabling the door just in time.
Quick, find the controls to extend the bridge. I think I just blasted them. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Outside the doors, outside the doors, one of the clone troopers tells the rest of them that the doors are out of commission, and he instructs another clone override them. And for once, it actually works. The door starts to jar, and Hunter notes that they won't hold much longer. Tech tells them that he's expediting the file transfer as quickly as possible, and the doors snap open, and the clone troopers open fire. The Bad Batch take cover and return fire. Again, they're using only stun blasts.
We're back to stun blast this week.
Yeah. One trooper radios that they have confirmed hostiles on the bridge and calls for backup. Outside, though, squads of troopers assemble below the ship, and another squadron of V-Wings take flight. And V-Wings, that's what Omega was studying way back at the first episode.
Yeah, and they were the same ships in the Sereno episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
They don't use stun rays on these guys.
No.
Inside, the batch hold their position, but the troopers continue to bear down on them. Hunter calls for a new plan, 14-5-86, and Wrecker surprisingly asks, all of them? And Hunter tells him emphatically, yes. Then he tells Echo to man the cannons and deal with the air support.
Oh, I thought he was calling a football play.
Yeah, maybe. Would be the day for it. With no delay, the deck cannons spring to life and open fire on the circling starfighters, causing two of them to crash into the shipyard below. And like you guys said, no stun for these pilots.
Nope.
It's all over. Back on the bridge, Tech relays that the data transfer has finished, and Echo tells Hunter Plan 5 is set, and Hunter immediately tells him to activate it. Echo's scomp-link spins in the port, and the engines on the Star Destroyer roar to life. The troopers below are stunned as the ship shakes.
I was stunned too. I did not expect that.
I
honestly did not. That's what I thought. You're gonna take off in it.
Yeah, just steal the whole ship.
We're gonna take it in and use it. Cool, but we're just gonna drive it like a car.
Where do you park that on Ordnance?
Yeah.
This one's got to have tags.
You know what it's like when an airplane slides off the runway, how much like emphasis airports put on getting it back on?
Yeah.
What happens when you knock a Star Destroyer off its moorings?
How do you even lift it?
But this is what I mean. Like, how many repulsor lifts does it take to move a Star Destroyer?
Don't know.
I guess you know what you would do? I got an idea.
A Star Destroyer tug?
You'd use a couple of Star Destroyers with tractor beams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or some Cantwells.
Maybe. The troopers below are stunned as the ship shakes and moves, and they all flee for cover. On the bridge, Wrecker, he charges the remaining clones in the astrogation room, and the Bad Batch flee the bridge. Taking out 2 more clones on the way, Rex notes that the security teams will be swarming, and they need an exit strategy. But Echo tells him, we already have one, and they're going to go over them. Rex questions over them. But outside, the engines roar louder and the ship begins to move forward. The docking supports give way and the ship crashes into the shipyard. The batch stagger, and then on the tilted ship, stunning more troopers, Tech leads them to an escape pod. Rex tells him that the pod isn't operational, but Tech says, I just needed to eject. He'll handle the rest. So Rex closes the pod door and says, this should be interesting.
And painful. By the look of it.
Tech activates the controls and multiple pods begin to jettison. Several pods go shooting in all directions, and the Batch's pod veers over a ship and crashes in the yard. Hunter opens the door and gives Tech not bad as they depart the pod, but Tech tells them, I was off by 6.4 meters.
Only.
Not my best. They rush into the maintenance hatch, and Rex tells them that they need to hurry because it's almost sunrise. And Tech quickly triggers the hatch, and they descend into the tunnels as more starfighters and troopers rush towards the downed Venator. We cut to the Senate, and I find this funny because they say it's almost sunrise.
So the Senate's been in session all night?
Yeah. Is that the case?
I don't know.
Because like everybody's already there, and it's a full house.
And it's dark.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Early morning vote?
Maybe.
But inside, Admiral Rampart's pod glides forward, and he relays to the Senate that provisions and concerns requested by Senator Chuchi have been resolved, and there is no reason to further delay the vote on the Imperial Defense Recruitment Bill. But Senator Chuchi's pod, with herself, Halle Bertoni, and 1 guard, glides forward, and she tells Rampart that is not the case, and they can't take him for his word when he has given them no reason to not to. Rampart questions what the reason is, and Chuchi tells him bluntly that according to Halle Bertoni, he is the one responsible for devoting Kaminoan funding into outside projects without Senate approval. The crowd starts to murmur and chatter, but Rampart asks if she believes the lies of a disgraced senator, and Senator Chuchi suggests a formal investigation should clear things up, unless he wants to tell them now where the funds went.
I like that she's like, if you want to tell everybody here in front of like all of us.
And she's pressing him. Like she's not giving him room to breathe.
Yeah.
Rampart, he looks around the chamber and frowns at Chuchi. Side note here, look who showed up for Senate duty.
Oh, look, it's our Aqualish buddy.
Yeah, fresh from the racetrack on Safatoma.
Seriously.
And he's not alone. Earlier on in that Faster episode, Walrus Man gets into a scuffle with an Arconan and a Gotal.
Yep.
And though we see the Arconan get shot in the stands at the raceway, apparently it wasn't that bad because he's shown up for Senate duty sitting right in front of Walrus
in
Man.
Session at the Senate.
I gotta say that's probably a uniform and that we're alien racists.
Well, I actually like that theory that perhaps it is some kind of uniform. I mean, look at look at Chuchi's guards.
True.
I just,
They
like I
wear
said in
very
the chat,
stylized.
there's 3 guys in an alternate universe that are aliens, and they're doing a review of the Bad Batch, and they're like, why are
That's
all
right.
X-Wing pilots the
In
same
orange
animation model?
Yeah, exactly.
Great nod to the toy.
It's so good.
Keep in mind the Gotal, he's here too, but we don't see him just yet.
I would also say keep in mind that very few people are scrutinizing these episodes the same way that we do.
Yeah. We do have a problem.
Yeah.
As long as it's entertaining for the half a dozen people that are watching, I don't care.
I hope so. Outside in an alleyway, Omega waits with a Pantoran guard, and shortly a speeder driven by Echo skids up to a stop in front of them. Rex hands the memory core to Omega and from the passenger seat, instructing her to get it to Senator Chuchi. And she hops in a waiting speeder with the guard, and they rush off. Back inside, Rampart, he tells the chamber he's not at liberty to discuss where the funds were sent, that they were redistributed, not misappropriated.
Redistributed.
Yeah, there's that word spin. But Chuchi counters that his actions began months prior to the loss of Tapoca City, almost as if he were preparing for it. And still playing dumb, he asks, what exactly are you implying? But not holding back, Chuchi fires at him. Then, I assert that the Kaminoan cloning facilities were intentionally eliminated. And several other senators jump to their feet. Senator Bail Organa scans the room as Rampart struggles to compose himself. He then tells them he will not dignify such baseless accusations with any more of his time.
What are you going to do? You're just going to leave?
Yeah, really.
Senate's in session, buddy.
Bertoni leans forward and asks where the concrete proof is, but Chuchi replies she doesn't know. And Rampart, he tries to push forward, citing that if there are no further issues, we should proceed with the vote.
Just ram it through. Ram it through.
Senator Raduli motions that Chuchi should be removed from the proceedings and censured for her misconduct. And the Gossam senator from the Commerce Guild seconds the motion. But just then Omega arrives and passes the memory core to Bale, and he quickly moves his pod outward as Omega slumps in the doorway. Organa tells the Senate new evidence has just come to light and must be considered, and he passes the databank to Chuchi's guard, who in turn hands it to Chuchi.
Hands it off so nobody realizes that he's doing covert stuff too.
Yep.
It's in my hand, but it's not mine. Hey, I was just holding it for somebody else.
That's right.
I'm not really a rebel.
Nope. When Senator Raduli questions what proof, Chuchi holds up the databank and says the recovered command log from Admiral Rampart's Venator, which indicates his own ships caused the destruction of Tapoca City. She then loads the data card into her pod console, and the Orabesh here reads file uploading, followed by an assortment of ones and zeros. In the Senate chamber, a huge hologram renders showing Rampart's Star Destroyer firing on Tapoca City, and a stunned silence falls over the Senate, and Omega watches from the sidelines. As the hologram pauses, the Senate erupts with disapproval, and multiple senators cross their arms and glare at Rampart.
Did you listen to some of the background noise in here?
I tried to, but
I'm pretty sure there was somebody that had there was like a trader comment from somebody, but it was in the ambience, right? But there was definitely
it wasn't just
outrage, people were
order.
upset.
Yeah.
Order.
Yeah. We shall have order.
Yep.
It's coming.
On the floor below, a portal's iris is open, and the Emperor's pod rises.
There was a unique alarm sound that went with that prior to its emergence, and it was almost like and we all knew what was about to happen. They make a point of where's the Emperor, seeing as he's been absent, and then suddenly it's like, oh, here it comes. Boop,
he's just waiting down there.
Boop. It's like a tractor backing up or something. But anyway, you get that alarm, and then the theme plays.
Yeah. Palpatine stands next to the Grand Vizier, his face still concealed by his hood. And Senators Chuchi and Organa exchange a glance while Admiral Rampart snaps to attention. The Grand Vizier addresses the Senate as the hologram disappears. It would appear that Senator Chuchi's horrific assertions are correct. And in the shadows, Omega gives a hopeful smile. The Vizier continues, this unprovoked attack on Kamino was a cowardly act by Admiral Rampart to further his own personal agenda. And Admiral Rampart, realizing he's just been thrown to the wolves, leans forward in disbelief.
How's that bus taste?
Yep. The Vizier calls for the guards to arrest and detain Admiral Rampart, and 3 Senate security clone shock troopers board Rampart's pod.
Clone shock trooper.
Yeah. Rampart pleads for them to stay back as he was only following orders, but the clones take him into custody, and the Grand Vizier calls for order, and Emperor Palpatine stands, and he tells the Senate that he is deeply troubled for this recent revelation.
Oh, well done. Well done.
He extends his gratitude to Senator Chuchi for exposing a rogue element within their ranks. Many lives have been lost, but I assure you Admiral Rampart will face the consequences for his treachery. More troopers have surrounded Rampart's pod at this time, and he's shoved into an adjacent pod, and the Emperor further addresses the Senate, telling them Rampart did not act alone. The fact that the clones under his command so blindly followed orders, inflicting such carnage without hesitation, gives him pause.
I don't want, I know this is like a big moment, but I actually want to talk about that because that is such an amazing way of manipulating the law in your favor.
Yeah.
Now, I can't speak for, all of the Western countries, but I can certainly speak for Canada, for the Canadian military. There are lawful orders and then there are unlawful orders, and you are allowed to protest an unlawful order.
Yeah.
And the idea that the Emperor is now saying that every clone that participated was complacent just sealed the deal.
And publicly too. This is the same thing that happened to the Jedi. It turns the population of the galaxy against the clones.
Against them.
Yeah.
It's
the counterpart to that
move.
is the clones themselves. Did any clones, I mean, we get this indication that some of them tried to come forward, but did anybody protest in the moment? We just see everybody, nope, we're just doing our job.
Well, the shock troopers are still just walking away with the prisoner here. Like,
Yeah.
Well, arrest that man's not an unlawful command.
No.
But
murder those civilians.
I mean,
that's an unlawful order.
Yeah. And certainly he's saying, this is broken. We need to do something about it. But the word hasn't been given. And the let's do something about it will be the, all right, everybody turn and fire on the clones or whatever it is.
Yeah. Right.
Turn yourselves in for decommissioning.
Yeah. So Senator Bail Organa furrows his brow as Palpatine postures that perhaps it is time for a change. Now more than ever, building a strong galaxy requires protection and security. And there it is again, right? Spinning that we need this military presence.
It's the Revenge of the Sith speech reworked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And due to the actions of Admiral Rampart, the bill on the floor today, he gives his opinion that this legislation is our future. And with this momentous act, they shall usher in a new era, heralded by the Imperial Stormtrooper. And Senator Chuchi, she hangs her head in shock and looks to Bail. And then from the shadows, Omega looks to them both. Emperor Palpatine has done it again, orchestrating both sides so that no matter the outcome, it's the one he wants.
Playing you like a fiddle.
Yep.
I just thought of something too. If the bill moves to, it's probably not something like outlawed. It's probably just something like decommissioned and left to your own devices. Because when Gregor contacts the Empire,
that's right. Yeah.
They just reference him as a relic, but they don't we found a clone. We need to eliminate them. So
right.
It's unlikely that that's the policy. It's more likely that there's a clone revolt.
It just makes sure that this recruitment bill goes through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Later on, outside the Havoc Marauder, Rex addresses the group, citing that Palpatine was one step ahead of them during the war, and he's still several steps ahead of them now.
And he will be for the foreseeable future.
Steps ahead of them before the war began.
Yeah.
Played right into his hands. And Omega questions that she doesn't understand. They did the right thing and told the truth. But Hunter tells her that the Emperor twisted it to his advantage. And Rex continues that Palpatine had them implicate Rampart in order to get the approval for the Stormtrooper bill. And Echo interjects that the fate of the clones is now sealed because of the Bad Batch.
See, that's another huge lesson for Omega to learn here.
Yeah.
Like a life-altering lesson. Sometimes, no matter what you do, if you do the right thing and you do your best and you do good, sometimes you still lose.
Yeah, bad things still happen.
Yeah.
And so that's a really tough lesson for a child to absorb.
Oh, yeah.
Echo asks what will happen to the clones, and Senator Chuchi says she doesn't know, but she's going to continue to fight for the clones. They deserve the same rights as any citizen. And she bends down and looks Omega in the eye and tells her, I won't give up. And Omega nods. Hunter tells Rex if he needs anything, just say the word, and then bids the senator farewell. And Echo steps forward, and Hunter puts his hand on Echo's shoulder and tells him, wherever you end up, remember what I said.
What did he say?
That I don't know.
So I'm like, was there a line earlier in the episode that we missed? And I don't think there was.
No, I think it was an off-camera private.
Right. That there's something that
we might get to see later.
Some pearl of wisdom or some little tidbit.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah. But Omega looks at them with a puzzled look, and Hunter turns and heads for the ship. Wrecker gives Echo a punch in the shoulder and tells him, don't get into trouble without us. And Omega questions, without us?
Oh, you can hear the heart breaking.
Oh, yeah. This is where it hit me right now. And Tech, he wishes Echo the best of luck and turns to head to the ship with Wrecker. And Omega asks, luck with what? And Echo, he tells her, I'm going with Rex. The clones need our help now more than ever, and I can't turn my back on them. And Omega, she pleads with him, you can't leave. We're a squad. But he tells her this is something he has to do, and he has to go where he's needed.
Yeah.
And heartbroken, Omega tells him, but we need you too. And Echo kneels down and tells her, it's not forever, and he'll be back.
Of course he'll be back. He's part of the show, man.
That's right. Better.
Part of the show.
He tells her to keep up with her training while he's gone. And in his best soldier voice, understood? But Omega leaps forward and hugs Echo tightly. And with a look of surprise, Echo softens and returns the hug. After a moment, she steps back, wiping a tear away from her eye, and she tells Echo, yes, sir. And that moment right there,
yep,
that did it for me.
Oh.
Because Echo, Tech, Hunter, and Wrecker, they're coming at it from soldier's perspective. Like, he's just going off on another mission. It's
That's right.
okay.
Yeah.
But she's looking at it, I'm losing my brother.
You're breaking up the family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the expression on Echo's face, he didn't consider that.
Yeah. You know, I think he did on some level. And I think it goes back to the episode when he was talking to Hunter and he had inadvertently said, we put her here. She deserves a better life. I think in his mind, it would have been okay because, you know, they kind of made amends for that. You know, we did the right thing by taking you off Camino, blah, blah, blah. I think that, you know, that's still weighing on him that he upset her that way.
Yeah.
And it would be okay for him to go off, but clearly it's not for her.
Yeah.
There's another thing that him choosing to go with Rex does. It underwrites the same thing I said about Cody, and that's that when we revisit Rex in 15 years,
he's not living with Echo.
He's not there anymore, which probably means he's gone.
Yeah, I thought about that as well.
You know, it's like signing up with Rex is foreshadowing your death. Certainly, we're probably going to end up meeting, or at least at some point, learning the story of how Wolf and Gregor got brought into the fold and then managed to stay with him. But there's only 3 of them.
And I mean, one of them, Wolf is like freaking batty. Like, like woo,
Gregor's batty.
Like Uncle
Wolf,
Giggles Flintstone, like woo.
Gregor is Uncle Batty.
Yeah,
and Wolf is still willing to, you know, rat people out. Like, so it's
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Echo then tells her to keep an eye on the rest of the batch, and Omega nods, and she gives a glance to Rex and Senator Chuchi. She walks to the ship, but she turns back at the bottom of the steps, and after a brief pause, she runs into the ship where Hunter is waiting for her. Echo watches as the hatch closes and the Marauder lifts off. Inside, we find Omega sitting in a room holding her black Tuca doll, and we fade to black.
Man,
it's so pointed that it fades on, or it ends on her just hugging her doll, like that, like a kid who just wants to be comforted.
Yeah,
I've been there. I know that feeling.
Yeah,
I think we all have, and I think that's why it resonates.
Yeah,
my gosh,
serious.
Implications going forward, though. through this Rebel network that she's now technically connected to,
Yeah.
Omega and the Batch could at some point run in with Princess Leia.
Oh, that's going to be cool.
Because you figure she's hooked up with Senator Chuchi. Who knows Bail? Who knows?
At this point, Leia is an infant.
Yeah.
So,
playing with another kid might be a good thing for Omega.
It's still a couple years away, though, before, that's even a feasible thing. I still like that. I like that idea. And I like the idea that we're seeing more, all of these shows that are interconnected, but yet nobody at this point in the timeline knows that all of these insurgent groups are all doing the same thing, just not
together.
Right.
And
it's funny to think now, especially given I went back and I looked at that season 1 episode where we were introduced to the Martez sisters.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so the hologram really was Rex. To think that of all the players that are basically forming rebel cells, Rex is one of them.
Yeah.
He's out there making his own rebel cell. Is he doing it in conjunction with Ahsoka? Because by the time they run into Ahsoka, who's acting as, Fulcrum.
Yeah.
Rex acts like he hasn't seen her since the Clone War. Commander Tano. He even calls her Commander.
Well, we know she's with him just after that too, because she shows up for
at least for the burial.
And from there, they're together, but we don't know where they go from there.
Right. So,
and he's forming rebel cells, but his focus is clones.
Yeah.
So and she's also interested in saving the galaxy, but her focus is Ezra Bridger centric. After a point.
I would be very interested in seeing, in a post clone uprising scenario, a clone rebel cell that joins the rebellion. Sure, I'm sure that's probably how Rex gets there. Obviously he's got his connections to Bail, and
here's the thing: perhaps Nick Sant isn't Rex, but just another clone.
So there you go, and that's entirely possible too. Maybe they'll solidify that one for everybody so we can stop arguing about it.
Can't wait for that action.
It's Nick Sant. It's Rex. It's Nick Sant. It's Rex. It's whoever the hell you want it to be.
Just looks
like my God. Wow. That's been a heavy Sunday for us to cover 2 episodes, and 2 episodes that were, again, quite thick on the plot, on the development of the bigger story.
Very far-reaching implications here, like clone rights and what's going to happen to them.
We get another double drop for the finale.
Yeah, the 2-part finale.
Do you think we're going to go back to Mission of the Week going forward, or are we going to be a little more structured, a little more linear?
There's some big threads that are still dangling from season 1 that we haven't sort of addressed. I know that I read and I sent it to you guys in the chat, whether you read it or not. StarWars.com ran an interview with D. Bradley Baker where he said that somewhere towards 3/4 of the season, there's a Crosshair episode that is his favorite episode of all the episodes he's done so far.
Okay.
And he says it I guess he's spoilering us. He said it recontextualizes Crosshair. He talks about him in terms of not being a bad guy, but just being a dedicated soldier and struggling with what the right thing for him to do is, and not necessarily being amoral. He's a trained killer, and it's a very interesting article. If you haven't checked it out, I'll repost it in the chat.
I think that leans right into what I was saying about, like, there are lawful orders and there are unlawful orders, and being a good soldier doesn't necessarily mean blindly following orders.
Unless there's a chip in your head that says blindly follow orders.
But there isn't, not in the case of Crosshair.
Crosshair.
Not now.
His was theoretically, I mean, he says he removed it a long time ago.
Yeah, before anybody else, conceivably.
Right.
But what makes him smarter than tech?
That just that art that leads me to believe that there's a single Crosshair episode similar to the Crosshair episode we got in the first half of the season.
Yeah, no, I buy that too.
We're going to need some resolution with the Sid thing, and I think we're going to have some comeuppance in terms of the Wookiee vis-a-vis Gungi. Maybe not an appearance by Gungi, but certainly her reaction to them slaughtering Trandoshans to rescue one Wookiee. Well, I mean, more than one Wookiee, but you know what I mean.
Wookiee planet.
That's right.
We've got to get back to the cloning facility. And I think as we begin to cross over with the Mandalorian, as we've done with, you know, the way we took Grogu and gave him a force healing power to sort of canonize it before we saw it in Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
I think you'll see stuff contextualized like that as we begin to cross over. That cloning facility has a lot to do with Grogu.
Yeah.
Like the implications there, that intertwines those two franchises deeply.
We have a new canon death for Yaddle that leaves her body
somewhere in the industrial district
in the possession of the Emperor.
Yeah, that's true.
Do we revisit? Do we even entertain that Grogu is the genetic soup of Yaddle and or Yoda?
No,
that's a hard no for you.
Hard no for me.
I don't know. I'm a little more open to that now, in light of that than I was before.
There's all these dangling things, and I don't know that we'll get very many, if any at all, of the adventure of the week. I think the adventures of the week will be dipped. You know, they might be doing a mission here or there, but they're certainly going to be
certain things thrown at them while they're going through those missions,
and it will be those threads. I mean,
yeah,
I think
especially with Omega steering things.
The whole idea of we just got to eke out an existence and just make enough money to survive. I think that's not going to be enough going forward.
No,
I think Crosshair is going to fold back into the team.
I agree with that too.
With Echo departing,
I do think that there is room for him to come back over, especially in light of the whole, you know, the we can go back to the good soldiers follow orders, and now we've got the complete opposite. The clones were now complacent in the whole thing. So that sends a mixed message.
Yeah.
And to a guy like that, who, I mean, just like the angry clone in the bar, can you make me a trooper? Can you do that?
Yeah. And this is certainly the type of thing that would send him back, send him rogue, first of all, and send him back looking for his brothers in terms of forgiveness.
I did the wrong thing.
Right.
I did the wrong thing. And you know what? It does not forgive him for all of the evil crap that he did. And I mean, he's evil. Like, I think we've established that he was a willing.
Bradley Baker interview, man. He talks about him not being an evil guy at all. That he's just. Yeah, I'll post it again.
I'd be interested in taking a look at that just to see kind of what the spin is there, because
even if Hunter, Wrecker, and Tech can't forgive what he did, Omega is going to be the one. Get in here.
If perception is reality, then the perception is he's evil.
Yeah.
Just because of the stuff that he did. I mean, shooting that cell. Was it on Onderon? I guess it was in season 1, where it was like he's shooting women and children, and like, come on, that's like Vader level.
Yeah,
that's Vader level evil, man.
Yeah, and yet he was allowed by the Force to retain his Force ghostness.
Isn't that something?
Return to being a Jedi. So
yeah. But again, posthumously.
Well, absolutely, I agree.
And that's why I said all along by the time we got to the end of season 1, if Crosshair was going to have a redemption, it would have to come at the cost of his life.
Certainly, you might not, with him being used so sparsely this season, you certainly might not even get that resolution this season if we want
maybe
to.
Not. No, maybe not
keep
at all.
That storyline going. Yeah,
I think we will, though, just because now he is out from under Rampart's thumb.
That's true. Yeah. Rampart's off to jail or worse.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So depending on what it means to decommission the clones.
Yeah. That begs the question, how on the inside is Rampart? He's like, I was just following orders, which funny.
Whose orders? That's my question. Whose orders?
Yeah.
Palpatine, Tarkin, the Vizier.
Probably Tarkin, because the implication was when they're walking through the hallway and Massa Maida said, Governor Tarkin assured me you could do this.
Yeah.
You could get it Senate supported.
And that's the other thing, like for the Senate for him to be screaming, it wasn't me, I was following orders.
Yeah.
shouldn't somebody in the Senate be like, wait, what? Who were you following orders from?
Yeah, really. I mean, that's gonna
not.
beg
Oh,
some
hey,
questions.
let's just go ahead and pass this bill. We're good.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that came up over the course of these two episodes was that the amount of participation in the Senate chamber itself is vastly different than what we saw in Andor,
where nobody really
where
give a crap.
Nobody shows up. They just shut the lights off and walk out.
Yeah.
Well, you've had, it's almost another 10 years.
Yeah,
almost.
10 more.
And you figure, right?
At least 7 to 10 years have passed.
Yeah, because Andor is like 5 years before New
so
Hope.
we're only a year past Order 66. So there is still
years.
And you probably
faith
see the
in the
democracy
Senate.
breaking down.
Yeah.
And just falling to pieces. Like, it doesn't matter what we vote. Palpatine's going to pop up and say, oh, never
yes
mind,
or no.
we're doing this.
He'll have the speech to end all speeches that everybody
And
goes, yeah.
Right now, you actually see Bale is trying to make it work. Chuchi's trying to make it work.
Within the framework.
The Grand Visit, Master Veda says, the Emperor is, he's willing to let he's willing to let the Senate decide what's good for the galaxy. Like, there's still the illusion, and I think that the illusion will steadily crumble.
Yeah.
Until eventually
when they just
because they're not. I mean, you can only pay out so much hush money, and they're not all puppets per se.
Yeah, but there is a good chunk of them in there out for themselves.
Oh yeah, of course, everybody. Of course, sir. Your cat's name is Grogu.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's very sweet. Well, any more you want to close on before we get going?
That's all I got.
Wow. Oh, I got one more thing we can go on.
Okay.
All right.
I got one more thing. We talked about this earlier this afternoon.
That's right.
I brought up, did everybody see the Empire magazine covers?
Oh, yeah.
I have.
So I forgot that I had actually taken a look. The subscriber only exclusive cover gave us, seeing as we're coming up on the Mandalorian, and the clones are so closely tied to Mandalorians. There was a subscriber only cover that gave us a hollow image of a bunch of covers, and I had taken some time to identify the ones that I was fairly certain of, and I thought, oh, let's just put that up there and have a look at it. So if you haven't seen it, here it comes. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that the armor is fairly obvious. Paz Vizsla as well, but we've got Din Djarin in the middle, Bo-Katan on the right, Casca Reeves below that, and Axe Woves, and at the bottom right, with his dent intact, that's got to be Boba Fett.
Yep.
Yeah.
No other Death Watch troopers or Mando.
It's hard to identify. I mean, is there? Isn't there? I don't know. What? I kind of wonder. There's one with the little I don't know, flutes on the side. Like, I know that's not the night owl symbol, but I mean, I feel like we've seen those little flares on Mandalorian helmets before, and I just can't.
Would one of these be Sabine Wren's?
So I kind of wondered if Sabine is in there somewhere, but I mean, the closest thing to Sabine's helmet would be Bo's with all of the ornate design work on it. None of those, they just look too plain.
It's hard to say. She's not wearing a helmet in the last time we see her in the sort of the epilogue.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's possible that her hair is a single color. Her armor is painted differently. It's a single color.
Yeah.
So possibly she's, streamlined it or perfected her art, if you will.
Maybe.
Both Doug and I looked at it and went, that's very close. It's very, it's that style of helmet.
It is,
anyway, if you will.
All of the lady helmets have that, the really narrow eye slit. I mean, they all have a narrow eye slit, but the angled eyes and
more so.
Yeah, it's a more slight take on the Mandalorian helmet. Man, I'd be really interested to see if the fallout of this upcoming clone revolt does result in, the clones. Well, we'll just go to Mandalore.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? We'll just all take up residence in Mandalore, where we can just live our lives.
Certainly could be the reason they razz the place.
Yeah, exactly. Night of 1,000 Tears.
Yeah.
I mean, with very few exceptions, we don't see clones after A New Hope. New Hope forward, we don't see them.
Eric.
Eric's got a cool comment here. He says, "Clone DeLoreans." Well, again, we've said it before. What is a Mandalorian? Is it it a creed? Is it a birthright? What is it? Could be
and
many.
that begs the
There's a
question: what is a
clan.
clone of a Mandalorian still a Mandalorian?
Yeah, really. But certainly, Din Djarin recognized the rights to Django's armor when Boba's like, "It's my father's armor. Now it's mine."
Mhm.
Okay,
You know, I recently rewatched that, and I was doing I went down my own little rabbit hole, and I was,
as we often do.
I was sort of looking at the Legends versions of Django where he was the Mandalore briefly, and there's no dark saber in Mandalore in Legends lore kind of thing. It's and being, even the canon entry says he was born on Concord Dawn, which
that's right, yeah,
makes him Mandalorian by birth, even though he was a foundling and taken into the fighting clans. And we do see in the Clone Wars, like, not everybody on Mandalore wears armor.
No.
Like, it's almost whether it's the elite or whether it's the military caste or the paramilitary caste. What's that, Dougie? Doug's got a comment there.
Hang on a second here. I'll get to it. I'm just.
Oh, that's.
Doug says, "Are the clones young enough to be foundlings?"
So they're they're like 3 to 5 years old, technically.
So some of them could be. I mean, we saw like at the outset of the Clone War, we saw clone kids going through their education programs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but their half-life would suggest it wouldn't be a very.
No, that is true.
Like, maybe, yeah. It's a neat thought.
It is a neat thought. I never really thought about that. All right. I think this is a good place to kind of hold up for now, don't you?
I think so.
Yeah,
all right.
We've got a lot of speculation as to what's coming next, but no real indication as to what's the next landing.
Yeah, exactly. But we only have a few days to wait.
That's
and
right.
We'll be back
Hopefully
again.
We get a mid-season trailer.
A mid-season trailer would be cool. Possibly even one today, maybe, given the events of what's happening in pro football today.
Mm-hmm.
But next week, it's The Crossing. It's episode 9 of season 2 of The Bad Batch. And of course, we'll be back the following Sunday to cover it all with all of the plot points, the Easter eggs, and the greater Star Wars lore connections, as only we do here on Fandom Power.
You know what we haven't been doing this season?
What have we not been doing?
Same batch time.
Same batch channel. Funny how that stuff falls by the wayside. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, please smash the like, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. We'd love for you to come and join us over there as we are trying to
check out our TeePublic.
We are
join our Patreon.
Yes. Really trying to build up the YouTube channel right now. Ideally, we'd like to do most of our streaming over there. And in fact, going forward, we may start redirecting our social media links so that it is a YouTube. I'm not saying that's going to be a YouTube only thing. Certainly not right now. We're too small to do that. However, ideally, we'd love for you to come on over there. If you're not busy on Wednesday night, we are going to run another episode of Random Fandom.
Yep.
This week, we get a special guest coming in from another YouTube channel. We got Adam coming over from the Go Figure YouTube channel. Now, the studio for that's already created, so there's links to that in our social media as well as here on the YouTube channel. You can check that out, including the links to Adam's Go Figure channel. Guys, we also just integrated with WhatsApp. So going forward, Random Fandom is a call-in show. We want to hear from you. You can call us from anywhere in the world. You can use the embedded WhatsApp button, both on our Facebook page, as well as in the banner on our YouTube channel, at least on desktop. I don't know if that displays on mobile.
I believe it does.
But it's there. It's there for you guys. And no, I'm not going to give up my number. You'll have to call in before you can see it. But yeah, it's going to be a call-in show. So really looking forward to hearing you guys. Random Fandom, it's the place where we're going to talk about other entertainment news that caught our attention throughout the week. There will
There
be
might be some
there might be some Star Wars news in there somewhere. But music,
happens.
movies, music, toys, TV, video games, celebrities,
Guaranteed to go off the rails.
if there is if there's something that caught your attention over the course of the last week or so,
call us up and talk nerdy to us.
Yeah, hit us up in the comments as always, and we can't wait to join you guys on the next one. So
yeah,
I think until Wednesday night for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy,
and I'm Hank,
and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now, everybody.